I hope we're back. I'm not sure. I was checking the previous broadcast to see if we made it onto the Facebook page, but it looked like we hadn't. So I restarted. And since it's a little bit of a late start, I'm not going to do the centering exercise again for now. And it still looks like we're not showing up on the Facebook page. I don't understand what's going on there. Anyway, maybe I will record this just in case. So we'll see what happens. Okay. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we're talking about The Emperor Has No Clothes. And I don't know if you guys are seeing this, which is pretty funny, actually, that it's not showing up on the Facebook page this morning, given this topic. But what we're talking about this morning is the fact that there are so many conventions that we live by that we never question and that are really truly absurd. Like we accept the notion that of course there's poverty in the world, of course there's hunger in the world. We accept the notion that that we keep secrets in our families, because we want to avoid shame, avoid judgment of others. So I know situations where people have suffered abuse within the context of family, and it becomes this deep, dark secret where people within the family don't even discuss it or don't let it be known, even within the family, let alone outside the family. We keep our own secrets. There's an absurdity to so many of the conventions that we accept. And where this came up for me most recently was in looking at some of the laws that we have around ownership, for instance, of water. So you may not be aware, but in most cases, states have ownership of water and have the right to be making contracts with corporations to sell this resource. And in many states, it's illegal to catch water on your property. So when it rains, you can't have a rain barrel, for example. It's against the law. Or it's against the law to be able to create water catchment like ponds or whatever on a property, because the water is meant to be flowing down certain waterways so that it can feed dams, for example, and we don't have rights to our own to water from the sky, which is really quite remarkable and kind of crazy, right? Because that means that we don't get to grow our landscape. We don't get to replenish the earth. Where this is coming from is an awareness of an organization called Water Stories, which I can't advocate for enough. In the Sustainability Now podcast and movie night this week, our movie night is with this remarkable man named Zach Weiss. And Zach Weiss has created this organization called Water Stories, which is teaching people about the water cycle and about what we can do to be transforming the water cycle, to be transforming the planet, to be turning deserts into lush and verdant landscapes. I'm just taking a minute to put a post on the Facebook page to let people know what's happening. I don't know why this isn't showing up. I'm just posting it here. Sorry. Okay. So when there's kind of an absurdity that we accept, we somehow accept this notion that resources can be owned, that our public lands, for instance, that corporations can buy rights to be extracting all kinds of resources from public lands, or that water, for instance, can be owned. And so as a result, for instance, in California, water rights were sold to, I don't know if it was Nestle or another one of the water companies. And during the drought, who had the water? Nestle. They took all this water for a nominal price, they bottled it and then sold it, and people were experiencing a horrible drought. So, I mean, this is the height of absurdity, that we could be commoditizing water, that we commoditize the resources of the earth, and then they become owned by corporate interests. It's craziness, right? It's craziness to think that that we can allow big corporations to be extracting fossil fuel from the earth and destroying communities and polluting waterways and polluting communities uh, with and having the right to take ownership of land that might be in the path of these oil um, pipelines. It's crazy, right? It's crazy that the oil companies would have sovereign or would have power over individuals and communities and the populace. It's crazy, and yet we accept it, and we even condone and promote it because we have been hypnotized to believe that it's for the greater good. That of course that's how things work. It's okay that business can pollute and destroy the welfare of communities, to destroy the quality of air, to destroy the quality of water, because to stop them would be impeding their ability to do business and to make profit. There are actually international laws that try to enforce the right of a corporation to sue a community or a country for impeding their ability to pursue business, despite whatever the consequence is to the community. These fundamental assumptions are things that we don't even call into question. It's part of our day-to-day existence. I mean, the idea that a company like Monsanto, now owned by Bayer, like Bayer aspirin Bayer, could own seeds, own genetically engineered, they've taken seeds, they've engineered them, or modified them, and then they patent that and have ownership of this with the intention to own a food supply. The fact that we have enabled such a practice is patently absurd, and yet we don't seem to question these things. That we've been so swept up in this notion of ownership and what we call free market and free enterprise that has completely run amok and truly usurped the right to a safe environment. The human right to air, clean water, a healthful environment, a livable climate, that there's no consequence for these companies that have been devastating our planet and our well-being in so many ways. We have bought into so many truly crazy assumptions that we get to question. We get to stop and step back and say, well, wait a minute, what is it that's going on here? What is happening here? And how did we get to this place, and how do we undo it? What can we do to shift this experience? It's craziness. And I encourage us to awaken from the thrall of this idea that, some of us see that the emperor has no clothes, right? Or we've all begun to believe that the emperor's clothes are just invisible, because they're so light and they're so perfect in its way, right? And so we don't call it out. It takes the eye of a child to step back and say, oh my gosh, what is it that's happening here? What is this absurdity that we have come to accept as our norm? It's true insanity. So I think I'm going to cut this short because it doesn't look like it's being broadcast, and the comments aren't working, and there's some technical difficulties. So I'm just going to revisit this on another day with you, and we get to discuss it together. So much love to you.